Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Russ Jones.
And Brad Kennan.
We are wide open. How are you, my friend?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I feel pretty good.
I know.
Notice I got these long sleeves on because I just got out of that cold plunge thing, 39 degrees today. So I'm, it's a little brisk. You can't dry off. You have to drip dry.
So here's my question.
All right.
It is for us, it's at 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And in order to go to sleep, your body temperature has to be decreased by 1 to 2 degrees.
Correct.
And if you just got out of a cold plunge, you're cold. So now you have to warm up. Then you have to chill off again to go to sleep.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah. So my plan is that I will do a sauna tonight after about 4 hours of the cold plunge. The sauna, makes your outer body hot, but your inner body actually is trying to cool it down. So it's dropping the temperature. So it's kind of like an Epsom salt bath, and that your core is dropping when you go to bed. So it supposedly makes you fall asleep easier. But I'll tell you, I'm so impressed that all these things about these degrees and what you need. And
because you preach constantly to me when I'm around you.
Preach is a relative term.
So I remember there was a book that you told me to read, which I did. It's called The 4 Hour Body, or 4 Hour. Yeah, it was The 4 Hour Body. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I read that book years and years and years ago. I don't know who did it, but I remember the book. And I remember that gentleman would do a cold bath, ice bath before he went to bed.
Yes.
And he would go to bed drip dry. And the only cover he would have on his bed is a sheet. So no blankets, no nothing. The guy had to have been mentally insane at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, right? Because, there's this whole list of things you do. And I think I told you I was coming up with a list from people. They could see from start to finish of my day, all these different things that I'm doing. I recognize with patients, it's just not reasonable, because it's like people are so confused now. They're not even sure whether to, what to eat, what is good, what's not good. If your cholesterol is high, can you eat meat? Is sugar bad? People don't even know what to do. They've made it so confusing.
Just assume sugar's bad, right?
Yeah. I just tell patients, listen, just don't eat bread and don't eat pasta for a month, and then call me, and let's just go from there. And there's a lot of people that, have lost weight, friends of ours that, are in the Bigfoot community have done it like that. But it's a challenge. It's discipline. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm making myself do this ice bath. You're trying to get 12 minutes a week. So, about 4 minutes, 3 times a week. And, I can tell you, when you get in something that's 39 degrees, you're thinking, what am I doing? And there's not a good way to do it. It's just a discipline thing, I think.
So do you dunk your head?
Yeah, I just, splash my face in there.
Okay, because that creates the mammalia effect, which causes
the mammalian effect, which is, because we're all after burning brown fat. So brown fat is the fat that our body stores for emergencies in case, it needs to protect our core to get rid of, increased temperature. Whereas the other fat is, it's just not that hard to get rid of. And so, we're just after the brown fat, and it's more effective than, when we exercise or when we eat well. So people are really getting, if they're fasting, they're eating well, and they're doing this on top of it. A lot of people are really getting lean.
Yeah, which that was not me. So, but it's weird because I don't really eat bread anymore. I don't really, bread's not in the house.
Yeah.
Pasta's very, very rare for me. So it's always a vegetable of some sort, or, meat. You can never go wrong with meat.
The issue for, people like you and I, we get around 50 and our bodies have become less insulin resistant. So over the course of time, as we eat more and more sugar through our life, it takes more and more insulin for our body to react to it. And so our body's producing more and more. And of course, when it can't produce enough, then we're diabetic, and, people have to do something about that. So, we're trying to do things like people are taking metformin, they're taking berberine. These are nutrients or medicines that are designed to make us more insulin resistant or more insulin sensitive, so that, our bodies can react that way to it.
Okay. Well, I'm on the metformin. You told me that. So I'm doing that. I don't know what kind of change it's making, but we will see over time.
Yeah, that's what's how it's like lifting weights, right? It's hard to have every day of you don't always feel like doing it, but in the
Right.
course of 6 months, good days and bad days, you've done 6 months, and this consistency is the key to all this.
Right. And you know what else is consistency is good for?
Tell me.
Hunting Bigfoot.
Yes.
You got to be consistent to find Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So so over the weekend, which our podcast drops for that, it'll actually be the one prior to this. We were at the Bigfoot Base Camp weekend. In Pleasantville,
Pleasant Lake
Pleasant
State
Lake.
Park.
There you go, State Park. I was very surprised. It was a very nice state park. There was quite a few people there. It was great to see a lot of Bigfooters I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys, everybody's going to have listened to that. If you hadn't listened to that podcast by the time this one's out, listen to it. We had a great guest on there, Charles Kimbrough. He was awesome. And we also had Matt Moneymaker jump on for a couple minutes, but we had to kind of cut it short at there at the end because he had some other stuff to do. And it was very interesting because we got to see him fly thermal drones around at night, pitch black, watching deer in fields a half-mile away with a drone. I do believe it is the next step in Bigfooting. You could actually sit in a car and fly a drone across fields and see things. My drone will show up tomorrow. I did not buy a thermal drone. I just bought a small drone that is not commercial. It's just a little consumer one, but it is fairly expensive. So it's not just a cheap, do it on your phone. It's actually got the video on the controller, and it actually does all kinds of neat things with the, so it won't run into things, all that kind of safe object sensing. So I'm going to try to practice on that, and then we're going to get you to buy a thermal drone.
Well, we Moneymaker, Brad and I, we went during the day to some location. I guess apparently we were not supposed to be at but it was a really steep gorge, and we were trying to see whether or not we could use the drone to access the thermal on these hillsides where Matt believes, the cliffs, the overhangs, all that type of stuff that the Bigfoot get in and around there. And, he wanted to look at that. And in the end, we just could not see well enough to be able to do it. I think we all suspected that.
A lot of leaf cover. So we have to go at a different time.
Yeah. I mean, so when the leaves are off, you got about 4 or 5 months here. Maybe you could do that.
Yeah.
But man, the speed of those drones was incredible.
Oh yeah. It was amazing. It was pretty neat. It was a lot, the technology's come a lot further than I thought they have. So
exactly.
So, but do you know who we saw when we were there?
Do tell.
She is at most of the Bigfoot things. She always has her booth. She's always selling her wares. And I do believe she is the official outfitter of the BFRO. Lori Wade.
Hi, Lori.
How are you?
So Lori is with us tonight. Lori is a BFRO investigator from Georgia, I do believe. Tennessee. Gosh, why do I keep thinking Georgia?
Because she does some expeditions.
I do a lot of stuff in Georgia, but I'm from.
I thought you
from Alabama. I live in Tennessee.
So are you a Crimson Tide or are you a Bulldog? I thought you were a Bulldog. You're Roll Tide. Okay. I was thinking you were Georgia, but no.
No.
Anyway, gosh. Okay.
But they're okay.
No, they're not. I hate them. I hate every team in the SEC.
Except the only team you like is Ohio State.
There's only one team, and that is Ohio.
Well, there's only one Alabama, so
that's exactly right. So I think what is that 2027?
Yes.
Ohio State plays Alabama.
Yeah.
That's why I know that Nick Saban will not be there then, because he would have never ever let Alabama schedule a really good team away.
Let's see. What is it, 2023? I figure we're going to have him until about 2025, and then I think he'll retire.
Yeah,
probably right. That's as soon as they scheduled that date, I said that's when Nick Saban will be gone.
Yeah,
because he's not coming to Columbus in September. So
yeah, probably not.
So anyway, enough about college football. We've established that you're from a different team than we are. We're not going to hold that against you too much.
Okay.
How long have you been in the BFRO?
Since 2013, so 10 years.
10 years, wow.
Yeah.
And I know that you go to a lot of expeditions, like a lot.
I host a lot, and I don't get to go to as many as I'd like to, but I do a lot of private things as well.
Okay.
How
All
many
right.
have you hosted? Out of curiosity, I know it's a big number.
I think I'm at 24 or 25.
I wonder if you've done more than anybody in the history of the BFRO.
I don't know. It's probably stupid because it's a lot. But I mean,
Yeah.
like COVID year, I did 4. In 2020, I did
Wow.
4 in 1 year.
During COVID.
I do not know why I did that, but everybody wanted to get out and it was fun. And
You didn't die, did you?
I didn't.
We're not allowed to say that word on our podcast.
We keep
red
getting in
strikes.
trouble. We
keep
got
getting in
grounded.
trouble. We
You
get
got
grounded.
grounded?
When we say that word.
Mhm.
Anyway, so you've been on 25 expeditions, or
Well, yeah, I've
Host-
hosted.
well, I mean, you've been on way more than that. You've hosted 25 expeditions.
Right.
How often do you have something happen?
Pretty often. Pretty
Okay.
much more often than I would think is normal.
Okay. Is that because you pick the right spots, the right people?
A little of both. Luck.
Okay. Okay.
Luck. I mean, it's a lot of it's luck.
Okay.
And then a lot of it is you go back and you're like, okay, that was definitely a coyote. We thought it was a Bigfoot, but it's a coyote.
Sure.
But that's part of the fun too, is going out and having coyotes and barred owls. That's a lot more than some people get.
There's nothing funnier than getting a person that's never been in the woods at night and a barred owl screams
Oh my gosh.
right next to
And
them.
I had a lady crying one night, begging me. She said, "That's not human." I'm like, "I promise you it's a barred owl." But I mean, she was really upset. She said, No, I've worked in a zoo. It's not an owl. I said, "It is." It is.
Well,
You know
she worked with the reptiles, but she was still in the zoo.
what she worked with. But,
Right.
I mean, literally, she's squalling, and it's like, okay, we got to get her out and explain to her, and pulled it up on YouTube and like, listen, it's a barred owl, and she's like, I've never heard that. I've never heard that sound.
Okay.
So
Things do make sounds. So, what's your best expedition? Do you ever have just one that you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I could do that every weekend?
as far as activity,
Yes.
there was one where we had 3 Class A's on the same trail.
Where was that at?
In Tennessee, in North Central Tennessee.
Were any of them?
It's actually where I'm going in November.
Okay.
Were any of them daylight sightings?
No, they weren't. It was not a daylight sighting. I still call that a Class A. When you're
Sure.
when you're 30 yards away,
Yeah.
you're looking at something.
Yeah.
I don't care what the categories are.
Right.
When you know, and this was by 3 guys that I knew them all,
Mhm.
and I trusted them. And if it didn't happen, they're really good liars, because I took each one of them aside and said, "Look, if you just tell me the truth, I won't be mad for long. I'll get over it."
So tell us what happened.
So they went down this trail, and when you first get on this trail, there's like a ridge, and they saw one on the ridge, and it wasn't very far away, but they're like, "Oh my gosh, look!" They're all excited about that.
Sure.
And then they didn't think much of it, because it was just like, okay, it went the other way. We're not running after it or anything. They
Sure.
kept going down the trail, and they saw one coming down the trail that was rather large, like over 12 feet, like really large from where they showed on the tree. But they
Goodness
said
gracious.
something was wrong with it.
12 feet's a massive squatch.
Yeah, well, they said something was wrong with it. They said
Okay.
one side of its face was drooping, that it had like mangy, not a lot of hair on its chest, and then it walked. Well, they said it walked like a pimp. That was how they said it, but they said it walked like with a limp. And they stopped, they looked at it, and they're like, "This is not
And this
right."
is from how far away?
This was probably from about 70 yards away.
Okay.
And they decided they were going to turn and come back down the trail.
Okay.
They just kind of had a bad vibe, said something's not right. And it
Okay.
kept following them down the trail. And then, they started thinking, we got to get out of here. Something's going on. And when they got almost to the end of there's like a field, and they got to the end of the field where the trail is, they said they looked to their left and they saw one on its haunches with like hair all down its face. And the words they used was that one was benevolent. They said, that's the one that was the mean one. And they literally were calling us on the radios, get us out of here, get us out of here. And they took off running.
Okay.
We had some people nearby, ran over there to get them. And then there's one guy he's standing there. They're all sick at this point. I mean, they're sick, they're crying, they're hurting.
And these are gentlemen that are not teenagers.
These have been out in the woods many, many times and been on many of my expeditions.
Okay.
Two of them, as a matter of fact, were investigators.
Okay.
And
do I know them?
Well, one of them died this year.
Oh, okay. All right.
And the other one you probably don't know. He lives in Florida. But then the one that lives in Florida, he turns and he starts walking back up the trail. And people are like, John, where are you going? John, come back. And he's like catatonic. He's just walking up the trail. And we're like, John, where are you going? And he said, they're telling me to come back, that they're not going to hurt me. Okay, so that's woo. That's crazy. It sounds crazy. But y'all, I'm telling you.
But more than one person witnessed this person do it.
Huh?
More than one person witnessed this guy saying, I got to go back.
Yeah. Yes. Several, I would say 5 or 6 witnessed that happening. So, y'all know when you go squatching with people a lot and you go with the same people, you learn how they are. Yeah. You learn if they exaggerate things, or you learn if, everything in the woods a Bigfoot. I mean, every tree, every stick break, it's a Bigfoot.
We've literally a lot of those people.
Yes, but you get to know them.
You get used to them, and you just kind of.
These guys were not those people. They were not. I mean, I begged them. I said, please just tell me the truth, because I never filed a report, and I won't file a report on it. I won't ever file a report of something that happens on an expedition.
Right.
I won't do it, because you're just opening yourself up to somebody saying, "Oh, you're just filing that report because it was an expedition and you want people to come."
Right.
I could care less who comes.
Right. Leonard Skinner.
So, that is, it's in a known area that has a lot of history of Bigfoot activity there. I'm talking decades of Bigfoot activity. And I have pretty much never been disappointed anytime I go there.
Okay. So to recap, 3 individuals, males, military age males of some sort.
One of them was military.
Okay. Military age males went on an expedition, walking down a trail, saw one, saw the other one coming towards them. It had a limp and a kind of a droopy face and kind of mangy hair, and they think it was about 12 feet tall. Turned around, walked out. They saw one to the left.
And this was all over about a 2-hour period. It didn't happen back to back to back.
Okay. All right. So, okay.
So Lori, I had to ask, I know I heard you get started on it because you said, I know this is woo, but and then we, we got off on the subject here, but I'm curious, did that change how you feel in terms of you were more open to the possibility that there may be some type of paranormal type?
Oh no, that didn't change how I feel.
Okay.
My own things that have happened to me changed how I feel about it. Whether or not it's Bigfoot related or not, I don't know. But there are strange things that happen in the woods, and things that you can't explain. And maybe it just happens to be at the same time that you're out squatching. But
can you give me an example?
There's some paranormal stuff out there.
Can you give me an example?
Being in a cemetery and all your motion lights go on and off when you ask them to. That's pretty paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
That cemetery is in this same area. This is a Native American area that we're going into. Orbs, all the orbs that we see a lot of orbs in the South. Maybe maybe something's wrong with us, but we see a lot of orbs. I've been knocked down twice by an unseen force that I don't know what it was. Once there and once in another area of Tennessee. I can't explain what happened to me on either one of those things.
What do you mean?
Well, like standing in the middle of the road and all of a sudden something hit me. Some unseen force hit me in the head, picked me up off my feet and knocked me down on a dirt road. Witnesses to proofs. The one guy didn't know him. He was just on an expedition and he said, she just got clotheslined. I was standing still. And then we had all sorts of howls and stuff around us. I don't know what happened. I mean, the first thing that you met George this weekend, the first thing George said is, did she have a stroke? No, I mean, it lifted me up off my feet and slammed me onto the hard ground. Okay. And then I had that same thing happen this past March in a different area of Tennessee.
So we need to go to Tennessee.
So, I mean, what is that? You can't explain it. I mean, I've been zapped before, but it wasn't like that. I've had mind speak, and I didn't even believe in mind speak until it happened.
Okay, explain mind speak to people here.
Again, I'm to the point in my life that whether someone believes me, it's irrelevant.
Sure.
I know what happened. So we were in Virginia, and we were all on a trail.
Was this HM State Park?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yes, it was. So, Charles Kimbrough is very familiar with this area. Mm-hmm. I was with Charles. Charles mm-hmm. wasn't on the trail with us, but 3 of us was up on this lake trail, and we had all seen a Bigfoot from 60 yards away.
Okay.
From a different vantage point. We were all spread out, and we had all seen it. I saw it first, and I thought, I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just going to keep watching. I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to be that person that something happens every time you go in the woods.
Sure.
So I just stood there for a minute. And then a few minutes later, Jeff said, Lori, come here. And I walked down to him, and he said, I want you to stand right in front of me and look. He said, I just saw, and I finished his sentence. I said, you saw a Bigfoot go from that tree to that tree. And he's like, how do you know? And I said, because I just saw it. And he said, why didn't you say anything? And I said, I needed to be sure of what I saw. And then from the front of the line, here comes another guy running, saying, guys, I just saw between these 2 trees. And we're like, okay. So, we kind of investigate that a little bit. We're figuring it out. And then we decide to keep walking on down the trail. We're all excited. There's no scaredness there. We're pumped up. We go down the trail, and we get to this area that makes a sharp turn to the right. And I just stopped, and I just didn't want to go any further. And they're like, what's wrong? And I said, guys, we can't go any further. They're like, why? And I said, something's in my head. I hear a voice saying, please stop. Please go away. That's what I heard. And how I interpreted it is, you've already seen us. This is our home. Go away. And they looked at me, and these are guys, again, that I know well. And they said, you're not scared? And I said, no, I'm not scared, but I'm not going to intrude on their territory any further. Y'all go if you want to. I'll sit on this rock and wait on you. And every one of them looked at me and said, we trust you. We've been out in the woods with you hundreds of times. If you're telling us not to go any further, we're not going any further.
So did you try to speak back to it, or,
no, I didn't. I mean, I just pretty much, in my mind, I thought, okay, I'm not going any further.
Okay.
But there have been other times that we've been out that somebody has said, Lori, talk to them in your head. And I just kind of laugh. And I'm like, they don't want in my head. You don't want in my head.
So you don't think that was your millions of years of human evolution telling you that I've seen something, I don't want to go forward, and you don't think
because we had
walked
forward another 200 yards from where we had saw something. I was not scared. I was excited. I was hoping to get a better glimpse. So there was no anxiety within me.
Okay.
And if I think that would have happened if we'd just taken a few steps and I've been like, oh, I'm scared. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. No, if you went another 200 yards, you know, a lot of times when people see things like this, they do get very beside themselves, let's say,
Right.
and they're like, just let's get out of here type thing.
Right. But
Okay.
you know, I've saw another Bigfoot in another area before. The first one I ever saw was in 2016 in Kentucky. And again, I wasn't scared. I was just looking at it going, that cannot be what I'm out here looking for. You've got to be kidding me. Because you know us, we go out there looking for stuff, but
Sure.
in your mind, you're kind of thinking, I'm never going to see it.
Right.
You know, I'm
Or
not going to
I'm not going to see it tonight. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I you know, I don't have the feeling,
Right.
whatever that is. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
The EBGBs, you don't have those.
Right.
So, you know, I don't know. I know that stuff sounds crazy, but
but
I
I
mean,
guess,
it is what it is.
but I
You know,
guess until you experience it firsthand, I don't have anything to say because I've never experienced that.
well,
You know,
I did not think it was possible. I also didn't think zapping was possible. I used to hear people talk about these on expeditions, and I would just look at them and I think, I'm not going to call him a liar. I can't do that, but I don't believe you
okay.
until
Tell
it
us about your
happens.
experience with that.
Yeah.
Well,
So
there's too many to tell about.
zapped.
But I mean,
You've
the
been zapped
first-
that many times?
Yeah,
You're a walking lightning rod. Is that what you're telling us?
yeah. I mean, ask the people that go out with me a lot, and
Okay.
they're like,
Well,
you know what? If you're going to go on the
next
trail
time we
with
go on
you-
an expedition, I'm going to go out with you. All right.
you know, do you ever get the feeling that maybe some people do attract, I'll say craziness for lack of a better word. Do you ever feel like that? Or do you ever feel like just that sometimes things happen to certain people and you don't know why?
Yeah. I mean, you always have those couple friends who you're like, hey, so and so this happened to them. You're like, oh yeah, I kind of figured that. You know, that's just something that would happen. You know, you're not surprised. Now,
Right.
it would happen to Russ. I'd be like, Russ would never put himself in that situation. But it happens to somebody else. You know, of course, you know, somebody gets rear-ended by some bank robbers and they take him hostage for 3 days and he ends up, you know, whatever. I could see, I got friends that would be like, oh yeah, I could see that happening to him. So anyway,
Well,
but you
see,
got
I
zapped.
feel like that in the Bigfoot world.
Okay.
Y'all are never going to talk to me again when I tell you the things I think. But I
No,
think
absolutely no.
sometimes you open yourself up to being more accepting of things that you hear and see.
Okay.
And I just think you're more open to being zapped or whatever.
Okay, so explain you got zapped. When was the best zap you got?
The very first one, and that was in
Okay.
Wisconsin.
Okay, so you're in
And,
Wisconsin. That
do
is
y'all
like
remember-
a really long
Do y'all
way
remember
from
Big Mike? Do you remember Big Mike?
Yeah, Mike from
Collier?
New York. Oh no, I was thinking
Mike Collier. He's from Wisconsin. He's from Green Bay. Anyway, we were on an expedition up there, and I think Caroline might have even been on that one. This is one of my first ones, but we were on an expedition up there, and we had these people come into camp and said, "Hey, are y'all squatching?" And we're like, "No." Why? You know, why? And they're like, "Well, this lake, every time we go on the other side of it near that island, we hear these loud noises and these sticks breaking and these monkey chatter stuff." And we're like, "Oh, that's cool. Yeah, whatever." Well, so that night we went and had a canoe, and Mike and I went out on the lake, and we paddled all the way around the lake, came back, couldn't find where we came in because, you know, you park at this big parking lot and then you walk in on a pig trail all the way down to the lake. Do you know what a pig trail is?
I would assume it's a small trail that like pigs walk on.
You're not
like
from the
it's
South.
just as big as a pig.
Yeah, it's a pig trail. So
Okay.
we had left the lights stuck in the back of the truck so that we could
Okay.
find our way back.
Okay.
Couldn't see the light anymore. And we kind of went up in this cove, and I'm like, this isn't it. This is not the right cove. And we started going around, and we could hear all sorts of movement in the tree line, but you couldn't see anything. Then we came around another bend, and I said, okay, I recognize this. The truck should be right up there. We get off. We get on the canoe. I step off. I hold the canoe for Mike to get off, and we heard this huge thump to our right. And you know the tree branches are right in on you, but we heard this huge thump. And I looked at Mike and I said, "Did you hear that?" He said, "Yeah." And he's a hunter. And I said, was that a deer? He's like, no, it's too loud. And I said, was that a bear? And he said, no. And I'm like, what was it? And he said, I don't know. But, he said, let's just stand here for a minute. Well, all of a sudden I start shaking. I can't breathe. I'm nauseous. He looks at me. He's shaking me. He's like, Lori, what's wrong? And he's like, can you move? And I'm like, no. And for 20 minutes, this is going on. He starts talking to the trees and talking to whatever. And, I literally, I can't function. I can't even move. And then we heard something go up the hill. We heard a whoop. And then the light came back on in the truck. And then after a few minutes, he said, let's just leave the canoe here. And I'm like, no, we can't, just take the canoe. And we got up to the truck, and I got in the truck, and I locked the door and wouldn't let him in because I was that freaked out. But that was the first time that something ever happened that I thought, this is crazy. I don't know what's going on.
Now, did you have any lingering effects from that, or?
No, I didn't want to go to sleep in my tent that night.
Okay.
But I did. And I turned that in as a report. That was, I can't even think of the people who were running that expedition, but I didn't want to tell them that night. I just did not want to tell them. I wanted to wait until the next day, and they talked me into telling them. They said, it's your story. And I'm like, well, I just didn't want to tell them, And then there's been other times that I've been out and, you get knocked to your knees and you don't know why.
No, I've had one time I was walking in Kentucky and I had something, it was like vibrating in my left ear, and I have no idea what it was. It was just like this vibration in my ear, and I was smacking my ear and it wouldn't stop. So it was like something was vibrating my eardrum, and I don't think it was a bug. But who knows what it was, but you kind of just keep going and it goes away. So that's literally the only time I've ever been something like that has ever happened to me.
I've never had anything happen. I know I was on Facebook earlier today, and in one of the groups of the 60,000 groups I'm in, and somebody was asking how many people have had different things paranormal happen in the woods or whatever. And I put 0. And then somebody said, well, have you asked for these things to happen or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And I have asked for those things. I remember Brad and I had a mutual friend that, is in some of the Bigfoot books, on some of the TV shows, and is a psychic. And, I guess in the interest of science, I would be open-minded to listen to what anybody had to say. And she used to always tell me, she's like, quit stomping around the woods like, you're owning the woods, and just walk into the woods and see if you feel like there's a certain way that you should go, and go that way for a while, and then have some lunch and leave some food behind and that type of thing. And so she told me that I should ask for something around one of my cameras, something to be left. And so I did, but nothing ever came of it. I think sometimes maybe those type of things probably wouldn't happen to me because I'm not as open-minded about it as other people.
On one of my first expeditions in Kentucky with Jack Smar, I don't know if y'all know Jack. You should. He's been around forever.
We know Jack.
Jack had this Native American at his expedition, and he told us, he said, you have to really ask. He said, you have to ask Bigfoot into your heart. And, I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, this is one of my first expeditions. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? And he's like, you really have to open your mind and be willing to believe what you see. And I kind of took it to heart, and that's what I always try to do when I go out.
Have you had a sighting? I know that one we just talked about, but I mean other sightings.
In Mammoth, in Kentucky.
Yeah, in Kentucky.
In Kentucky, I was with Jeff Stefani and Mark Ogilvy, and this was in 2016, and we were we were walking down a trail because we didn't want to be with other people anymore. We were kind of over it.
Mm-hmm.
And we were walking, and finally I just said, I don't want to walk any further. You're tired. And we took our little stools out. I said, why don't we just sit at this corner? Because it was going to go all the way down to some creek. I said, let's just sit and we face all different directions. And when I turned around, I said, I'll face the way we came. You face that way and you face that way. And when I turned around, there was something walking up the trail. And I immediately turned around to see if it was Mark and Jeff, because I thought, which one of you went back there? And my description was that it looked like somebody in a hoodie. And when I looked, I kind of pointed and I said, who is that? What is that? And then it stopped and it made a beeline down the ravine, and the coyotes started going crazy. And all the acorns on all the trees, all the little trees and stuff were falling. Nothing was going on the left side, but all of that was going on the right side. And it took us about 45 minutes before I called it in to Charlie Raymond, because I just kind of got ahead of myself and I got all excited about what was going on. But that was the first one, and that one was only about 6 feet tall.
Okay.
But the other two guys didn't see it because they were looking in different directions.
I was going to say,
we have it all on audio. We have everything we said on audio and everything. You could hear the acorns falling.
Because I talked to Mark when we were standing there at the campfire, and I said, hey, have you seen one? Or he's like, no, unfortunately, I've never had the opportunity to have a true, sighting. He said, I've had some stuff happen before, but I've never really had a true sighting. So
yeah, no, he didn't see it. He was looking back the other way. And Jeff Stefani was. I mean, literally, I turned around, I sat my chair, and I looked, and there's something walking up the trail where we just came from. And I kind of looked because I thought, who is that? And it was, there was a moon behind it, but it had like a conical head, and I couldn't see his face. It was facing me, but I know the shape it was.
Do you think it was following you specifically? Is that what it was kind of doing?
I think it was following us. I think it was a juvenile, and that it was following us, just trying to, be nosy. And I think it didn't expect us to stop.
Okay. Well, sometimes they do that, and sometimes we do that. So,
yeah.
What states, Lori, are you in on your expeditions?
What states?
Yeah, what states have you done? That you led expeditions on.
Well, BFRO expeditions, just Tennessee and Georgia.
Okay.
Private things, I've been, Alabama, Florida, North Carolina, several. I think I just got back from Washington and Idaho in July. 6 of us went out there and had a blast. It was good.
Did you go did you go out in the woods, or did you just go to one of their, what is that, like they have some conferences up there or something?
No. 6 of us went out in the middle of nowhere. And we got Kevin Llewellyn, who is a BFRO investigator in Washington. I had met him a few years ago when we went to Vancouver Island. And that's when we went to British Columbia. I met him. So I said, hey, look, we don't know enough about the area. Would you meet us? So we got him to meet us, and he took us out in the middle of nowhere, and we rented our gear at REI. So when we flew into Spokane, we went to REI, picked up all our gear.
You can rent all that stuff at REI? I did not know that.
It was awesome. It was great tents, great sleeping bags. And then one guy had driven, and he had a trailer with like a little Coleman stove and a cooler.
Is it that expensive to rent from REI?
No, for a week, for a tent, a sleeping pad, and a sleeping bag was $130.
Okay, wow. So not that bad. Yeah,
I couldn't ship my stuff for $130.
Right, exactly.
But we had
Did
a
you guys
blast.
have any activity?
Not Bigfoot activity.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had what?
We had a UFO. We had a couple of UFO things that we saw.
Okay.
It's like, this is crazy.
All right, so you opened up the box.
Yeah, well, it was crazy. So just ask anybody that was with us. I can give you names off the air, but
I'm asking you, and in fact, I know one of those people that was with you, so I'll ask him when I see him next. But
you ask him, and he'll tell you what happened.
Okay, well, I'm asking you right now. Then I'll ask, because I know he probably doesn't listen to us, so I'll ask him and see if they match. So go ahead.
Go right ahead.
No, go
I
ahead.
ain't no
You tell
liar.
us. You tell us.
Uh,
You tell us what happened.
Well, the first night we were there, we were just down the road from our campsite, and we had these white lights in the trees that we couldn't explain. I mean, we
Okay.
tried to mimic them. We tried to use our car to. We thought they were car lights, but they were at the top of the trees. And then
Okay.
below them, there was a white light, a red light, and a white light. And then it went away, and then it happened again.
Okay.
That was the first night. We were like, okay, we'll figure this one out. There's somebody down there, but there's no way that the big swath of light. So move forward 3 days, and we're in our campsite. It's 1:50 in the morning.
Okay.
3 guys had just went to bed, and the guy he's got up, and he's standing kind of behind me, but he's looking out toward the meadow.
Okay.
And there's another guy. The other guy's getting in his trailer, getting something out of the cooler. And I look back toward my tent, and there's a blue light coming through the trees about 35 feet up. And I thought, what is that? And I'm just sitting there by the campfire. I look and I watch it. It's moving with propulsion. It's about the size of a basketball, except it's blue.
Okay.
It comes over the top of the campfire and goes to my left, and then it zooms off. The other two, the one and the other guy looked at me and said, "What was that big light on the ground?" Because it lit up the whole area. And I said, "Y'all didn't see that, did you?" And they're like, "No, we just saw the big light. It was like, what was it? It was like a big strobe light." And I'm like, "I don't know." And I'm pointing. I'm like, "It was a big blue light that just went through the campground." And we're like, "That's weird. What could that have been?" And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. They're like, "Was it an orb?" I said, "Nope. It was moving with propulsion, not sound wise, but it's moving." So we're standing there, and not less than a minute later, right above us, we hear what sounds like the beginning of thunder or bowling balls. And then we heard what sounded like a jet engine go straight up.
Okay.
It was so loud that the 3 guys ran out of their tents and said, "What was that?" I don't know what it was.
So were you by any military bases that you know of?
No, we were not.
Okay.
And once we got internet service later in the week, I researched everything. I researched ball lightning. I researched any other UFO sightings. I researched everything. And then I had, did y'all see Wayne, the caricature artist there that was at base camp? Yeah. So when we got back to civilization, I had taken pictures of the whole area, and I said, "Wayne, I need you to draw this. I'm going to tell you what I saw. Here's the campsite. I need you to draw it." And he did something computer generated, and it was spot on to what I saw.
Okay.
I can't explain. I don't think that had anything to do with Bigfoot. I just think that was odd. But the Spokane area is the largest area for UAP sightings. So I don't know.
I mean, why'd they have to change that? I mean, you had to pause to remember UAP. What was wrong with UFO like we all did? Because
all of a sudden I remember that they changed the name to UAP.
no, I know. I mean, but what was wrong with that? I mean, why'd they have to
know.
do that?
I didn't know.
I mean,
what
because
UAP
there was a
meant.
stigma attached to it.
I don't know.
You probably shouldn't get Brad started on it, because then we'll get in trouble again.
Yeah, we'll get in trouble about something. The government knows everything, and they're trying to screw us over. And
I don't know, but I mean, I kind of think I've been fortunate. I've had a lot of weird crap happen in my life.
Well, I guess next time we go somewhere, I'm going to go out when you go. I'm going to go in the group that you're in.
Come on.
I always go with Russ, and I think Russ is like too masculine. He gives off too much testosterone, so they just like don't want to come around him.
Oh my.
So let's go back to zapping for a minute if you want to hear something interesting.
Okay. I like what we like
in March of this year, me and 5 or 6 other people went scouting for where we were going to be in April. I had an expedition there in April.
Okay.
And we had went to a new little area within our expedition site. And I was like, "Hey, I found this road that I didn't know existed, and it was this old little partially dried up pond, and Anyway, we kind of split up. A couple of people built a fire. It was a little meadow, and a couple of people were therming the tree line. And then there was these other guys that were going to go down and explore down into the pond. And I got up and I walked to the edge of the trees, because there was like an area, a swath of forest in between us and the pond. And I said, when you get down there, I want you to flash your red light so I'll know where you're at. And, I'm like a mother hen. I kind of want to know where everybody's at. I feel responsible. Even if we're doing a little private thing, I feel responsible for everybody. So they were down there, and I saw where they were at, and I'm like, okay, I gotcha. And I decided to step into the wood line. And when I stepped into the wood line, I told the guy that was behind me, I said, something's not right. And I went down. And he came and literally grabbed me by the arm and starts pulling me, because he said,
man down.
Yeah, really. And he's pulling me out of the wood line. And he said, when that happened, I had just saw what I thought was a head above the bushes. Well, this other guy that's, 30 yards, 40 yards down below us, he had just saw something that he said was crazy.
So define crazy.
I don't know what happened there.
I mean, what did he say that he saw that was crazy?
Like something spider walking.
What?
Well, you hear that commonly, like when Sasquatch Chronicles, Wes Germer's show, a lot of witnesses, maybe not a lot, but commonly hear about Bigfoot doing spider walking.
That's what he said. He said it was whatever this was.
So is it like crab walking, or is it like on all fours?
Crab walking.
Like not bear walking, like crab walking.
It's out kind of like the way they describe it. It's on like its fingertips, though, when it's going.
It was dark. I mean, I just know what he said. He said, I saw this. He said it was in the bushes, and it started going toward you start coming up with all sorts of theories, and they're like, Lori, we don't think they were looking at us. They were watching you when you stepped into that wood line, and that's when you went down. And then, the other guys came back around, and then we saw red lights again. Gosh, I'm going to sound crazy. Y'all might as well just not even air this, because
no.
Stuff is sounding crazy.
No, you signed the waiver. You signed the waiver when you came on. So
yeah, that's good stuff.
It just, it excites you to keep going out, but then sometimes you're like, what's going to happen next? What now?
Yeah, usually when I go out, nothing happens. But maybe I stomp too loud and I'm like too aggressive, or I'm too grumpy or something in the woods, and they're like, we don't want to mess with this guy. He's just too grumpy.
I don't know.
That's hilarious.
I don't know. I know it sounds crazy, but I also know I know that I'm 100% telling the truth about everything that has ever happened. I didn't make it up. It's just happened.
I mean, that's everybody's, how do I want to say it? I mean, their own experience, right? I mean, we all have our own experience, and it happens to us, and that's your reality. What you believe happened to you, and you're trying to fit it together with, what you understand and what you know about yourself and what you've done in the past. And, some things have happened and some things haven't happened. I just have yet to have, maybe I don't have any of those experiences because I wouldn't handle them well.
You never know how you'll handle something until it happens to you.
Right.
I think it's interesting. The first BFRO expedition I went on, which was 15 years ago, the one where I met Brad, we had absolutely nothing happen. There just was nothing going on.
Oh, I've been on those before.
It's hard on the expedition leader, because you're choosing this spot, you're trying to find a good spot, you want paying customers to have a good time and be able to educate them, and sometimes the Bigfoot don't want to cooperate. And
what I tell people, even people that I talk to about expeditions, I'm like, I cannot promise you that we will even have the first barred owl. I said, but I can promise you'll have a good time. You'll learn something. You will become lifelong friends with some of these people, and that's all you can hope for.
Mm-hmm. That is the truth. I mean, that is the truth. I mean, we have lifelong friends that,
I would say my top 5 best friends I would have never met in any other walk of life, ever.
I believe that.
And I won't get into this, but y'all know that when my son died, I just came off an expedition, and to look up 3 days after I just saw these people in the woods and they're sitting there at the funeral home with you, and you're thinking, why are you here? And they're like, we had to come for you. That's when you know what kind of people you're really gelling with and becoming lifelong friends with.
Yeah, and I we're in the same. That's we talked about this over the weekend, that we're in a club that nobody wants to be a member of.
No, you don't.
And the same thing. I remember that there was quite a few people from the Bigfoot community that actually came to my son's funeral too, and so it was it's touching. It really is.
I mean, it's people that you're always going to have a connection with because they cared enough about you. I mean, there are times when people couldn't make it, but there were people there that I literally had just met on expedition, and they're like, you just talked about your son this week. We had to come and support you. And I'm like, well, you have my heart for that.
Right. Exactly. So anyway,
let me ask you this. Go ahead, Brad.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, I don't want to close on that note. We got to talk about something.
I mean, it's all good. It's all good.
What I was curious about is, having been in so many states, you've been to a lot of different states, you've led a lot of different expeditions. Is there a particular place that if someone was said, this is your one shot, this is your go-to?
East Tennessee.
Boy, you didn't even pause.
East Tennessee. Absolutely.
Would it be in the national forest there?
The forest, the mountains, the wildlife. There's lots of bears. There's lots of deer. There's lots of snakes too, unfortunately. Creeks everywhere. Water, tons of water. It's just absolutely beautiful. I would never hesitate to go to East Tennessee.
So for the people listening, they're considering,
but East Tennessee, yes,
considering a expedition with you. And I know that Matt says it's a big deal. When you get a Lori Wade expedition, a lot of people want to go. So
you want to know how many people I have? So I'm doing back-to-back expeditions, right? So I'm doing a Sunday through Wednesday, and then a Thursday through Sunday
in the same location.
In the same location. We are going to cover that territory like nobody's business. But do you want to know how many people I've got between these two?
No
100.
idea. Oh my.
100.
How many?
100.
How many? That's a lot.
Yeah.
And I've turned down a lot.
Is that in East Tennessee by any chance?
It's not. It's in North Central Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
But
Brad would be creeping in on the East Tennessee one.
Come on.
Yeah, I was going to say I might.
That'll probably be in April.
Well, you have to let me know because I may have to attend that one.
Yeah, maybe we'll just do a big private. Maybe we'll do a little private thing with, 10 or 12 investigators.
That'd be fun if I can get Russ to come. He barely leaves West Virginia.
Hey, you don't even have to have your little cold tub. The creeks there are so cold. You could just go sit in the creek.
I could just go sit in one. That'd be great. I can make Brad go sit in a cold creek with me.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
He would do it. He would complain, but he would do it.
I would complain, but I told Russ I can do anything for 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's our bath.
He's a gamer. He would try almost anything.
Yeah, I'd do it. I don't care. How far is the closest hotel? That's another question.
We don't allow that. No, I mean, 45 minutes.
That's kind of a long way. I got a camper on my truck. I could probably just sleep in the back.
Why don't you get your Bon Jovi camper back out? You can probably get one of those.
I'm sure I could bum one off somebody I know.
There is actually a little fishing. I don't even know what to call it. There's a little fishing community not too far. You can go stay in one of their rooms. They're just not the greatest.
I don't care. As long as I don't have to pack a bunch of stuff, and I don't mind camping. I just don't like setting up a tent. You buy all this food. You take the stove. You take the cot.
See, you don't have to do that on my expeditions.
Why not?
Because I feed everybody.
Okay.
Well, she's never seen how much I eat, does she?
No.
You don't have to bring any of that stuff. I feed you all your meals.
Okay. Well,
You know what we cooked at the
maybe I'll
last
try it.
expedition? We made, well, don't listen to this, Russ, but we made chicken fried steak at the last one in the middle of the woods.
Russ would eat that.
Wow.
We had an expedition one
bad
time.
for you.
We had 100 pounds of potatoes.
Yeah.
A russet
72
potato-
people on one expedition.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
I had a giant deep fryer, and I had one of those things you cut up fair fries with and make fair
Yeah.
fries. We
Yeah.
made fair fries for 3 nights in a row,
Oh
and
my
we ate
God.
100 pounds of potatoes in 3 days.
Wow. Matt like to freaked out when he found out I was feeding people and stuff, and he found out I was feeding them grits in the morning. And of course, you had to explain to Matt what grits were. And I told him I used 6 sticks of butter in the grits. And he's like, "You're trying to kill all the attendees."
No. Oh, believe me, I've seen some of the people over the years that are squatching, and their waistlines are growing. So
Yeah.
I don't think what one weekend with you is not going to kill them.
No, but you do need to bring your stretchy pants.
The stretch. Well, just walk them a little bit. They'll be good. Make sure they're
Right.
getting their 10,000 steps a day.
Yeah, we can
Absolutely.
do that.
Absolutely. So
Hey, Lori, I know is there, we're getting ready to wind up here. So is there some location that people can, I know in the expedition course, they can go to BFRO.net and look for future expeditions, and they'll have your name by the ones you're doing. But is there any place that you can go to get your wares, all the cool stuff that you make? And
Well, I have an Etsy shop that's really needs to be updated. Like some of that wood stuff that you guys saw, I don't even have that on there yet. I'm going to another festival this weekend, and I have another one next weekend. I speak at this one this coming weekend in Burns, Tennessee,
okay.
and then next weekend's in Crossville, Tennessee. But my Etsy shop's called Bigfoot and Me.
Okay. Bigfoot and Me.
Mhm.
Okay. On Etsy. All right. But yeah, because you're kind of the official team BFRO person, right?
Well, yeah, the BFRO merch, which again I need to update it too because I've tried to get some newer. I don't know if you saw some newer.
Oh yeah, yeah. You had some new
nicer-
shirts that were kind of
Some nicer shirts, so nice
Yeah.
polo, a nice dry fit shirt.
Yep.
You can get that stuff on the BFRO site under. What is he doing?
I have no idea what Russ is doing. What are you doing?
I was trying to
Russ?
clean my thing.
Okay. Okay.
So
All
you can get that on the website, the BFRO website, but I haven't gotten those newest things on there yet.
Okay. All right. So if they order something, it's going to come from you. So
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Hey, we really appreciate your time. You're
Yeah.
a first-class person and probably one of the best investigators in the whole country, and certainly one of the very best ones to go on expedition with.
yeah, like I said, I'm going to
Well,
go in
it's
your
just
group next
fun.
time I go out.
It's just fun, people who think a little bit too much of themselves. I'm not interested in that.
Either are we. So
Well, I'm glad that we got to see you last weekend. I wish we got a chance to talk more.
right.
But
Yeah,
maybe next
y'all
time
were busy
around.
and we were busy, and
Yep. And there was football to be watched on Saturday, so how
That's
that goes.
right.
And we
I was
were
trying to watch the Bama game on my phone. I was like, okay, I need to watch this.
we were babysitting Moneymaker through the weekend, so
Yeah,
had a good
I
time with them.
understand.
Yeah. Anyway,
Well, we really
All right,
appreciate
Lori.
you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank
All right.
you. Thanks,
All right.
guys.
all right. Bye-bye.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, that was interesting.
Yeah, Lori's cool. I mean,
Yeah, a lot of interesting experiences. She has some great stuff. Like I said, Bigfoot and Me on Etsy. She says she has to update it, but they got some new BFRO merch. So I'm sure you can find her email somewhere, and you can always email her and ask her for some cool stuff. She's
Yeah.
got some great stuff. So
yeah, it's
Anyway.
it's interesting hearing other people's takes. I mean, how nice and honest she is, and that when she's telling you this is what happened, that she's the real deal. Like I said, I know we all have different beliefs, and I'm certainly not discounting someone's beliefs because that's their experience. So it's
Sure.
interesting to hear
Yep.
what other people had that.
Absolutely. So other than that, that's our hour. The Bigfoot doc, Wide Open Research on Instagram. Maybe next time I got some drone footage that they took, some thermal drone footage, and you couldn't go a whole hour without eating, could you?
No.
So-
Like, subscribe, thebigfootdoc.com.
Right. Yep. The
Great
Untold
episode
Radio
coming up
Network.
next week
Yep.
with
the Untold
Moneymaker and Charles Kimbrough on it.
Yep. Yeah. Listen to that. That drops Thursday on the 12th with So that's actually not going to be next week. It's the previous week. So if you hear this week and you didn't hear previous week, you'll be able to hear the previous week with Moneymaker and Kimbrough. So,
Okay.
All right.
Hey, we appreciate it. It's good to see you, my friend. And thanks everybody for listening.
Yep, we are.
Until next time, we are out.